I remember this girl ends up coming to my house and she ends up bringing me a present. And when I opened this gift, I realized there was a shot collar in there, and she ended up looking at me saying, Baba, I need you to put that on me. I want to be all yours. And I looked back at her, totally confused on what in the world was going on. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome to one of the most weirdest stories I think I'm ever gonna tell. This story all takes place back when I was in high school, and this was my grade 11 year. Now, in grade 11, I was a major player, and I'm not gonna lie, pulling girls was the only thing I think I was actually good at. Also, video games. Video games was also another thing I was super good at, but at the same time, there was nothing compared to pulling girls. And I remember one time in my grade 11 year, I was walking down the school hallway, minding my own business, and just kind of chilling, hanging out, until I realized that as I was on my phone, I ended up seeing a girl walk up to me. Now, this girl, she had a boyfriend that everyone in the school knew about, and everyone kind of stayed away from this girl because she was super weird. Because 1 minute from the beginning of the year, she was wearing a choker, and then afterwards, when she ended up getting a boyfriend, I guess she ended up changing her ways, and instead of wearing a choker, she would wear a collar with her boyfriend's name on it. Me and everyone throughout the school that knew about this found it super weird, and no one else thought that this was a normal relationship that they had. But let's just say a couple weeks went by, and the biggest argument ended up breaking out in the middle of the hallway, where 1 minute the boyfriend was yelling about how she has a loud mouth, and then her, the girlfriend that was wearing the collar, ended up taking off her collar and chucking it right at her boyfriend. I remember everyone was looking and totally confused on what was happening, and then the one thing that this girl said that was so weird to everyone was, I'd rather be a stray than be with you, and she ends up walking off. Everyone got so weirded out and ended up just dispersing after that whole argument, but me, I was kind of confused on what was happening. I ended up seeing the girl later on in the hallway after everything happened, and I saw her sitting on all fours and crying. It was actually really weird how she was crying because it looks like she was praying more than crying, but I really don't know. I ended up walking up to her and saying, hey, like, everything okay with you? What? Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Just a lot's going on. Okay, well, I mean, if you ever need to talk, just let me know. Wait, really? You'll talk to me? I mean, yeah, why not? Okay, well, here, do you want my number? At that moment, I felt really odd that she let me have her number, but I ended up passing my phone to her anyway, and I got her number. And let's just say what ended up happening next was really weird, because in random moments throughout that day, ever since she got my number, she would keep texting me over and over long paragraphs about how, like, she just wants to be owned by someone, and how, like, she wants someone for her and all this weird stuff. And then she started comparing herself to a dog, about how dogs get more love than her. I don't really know. It was a bunch of weirdo madness. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if this girl was a furry, I wouldn't be surprised as well. But honestly, I ended up basically just hearing her out, and this went on for, I want to say, almost 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks went by, there was a moment where I was at home, and it was like, I think a Friday after school. And when I was at home playing video games, out of nowhere, my doorbell rang. Now, no one else was home, and I remember I found this super weird. So I ended up basically going up the stairs, and when I answered the door, I saw it was her holding a gift. Now, I didn't know what was in the gift, and I don't know why she got me a gift, but I ended up letting her come inside, and she placed this gift on the table, and she said to me, Bubba, like, you're actually such a good listener, and, like, you know, ever since me and, like, that weirdo broke up, you've been there for me, and I think I really like you. Oh, well, thanks. I like you too. Wait, really? Oh my goodness, this gift is perfect then. She ends up grabbing it off the table and ends up handing it to me, and I ended up opening this gift, and when I opened it, I saw it was a collar. Now, I don't know if this was like some sort of ritual she had with like guys she liked, but she ended up basically grabbing the collar out, and she ended up putting it around her neck. And the difference between this collar and the one that she had for her last boyfriend was that on this one, there was a giant battery pack on there that made it look like a shot collar. I ended up asking her, hey, like, what's that part right there on the collar? Oh, this? Well, this is a shot collar, so if I'm ever, you know, being too much for you, you can just press this button. And that's when she ended up handing me a remote that controlled the collar. At this moment, I felt so weird holding this in my hand. Like, the last time I held a shot collar remote was when I actually had a dog. So I ended up looking at her, and I'm like, are you sure this is a good idea? Like, isn't this, like, in a way, like, abuse? Oh, no, not if I want it, Bubba. And if there's one thing I know, I want you. Okay, cool, I guess, is what I told her. Totally in total shock of what in the world was going on here. And then I remember this girl ends up getting up and leaving, and she's like, I'll see you at school tomorrow. And she left. I remember I ended up looking at this collar, and I just decided to, like, totally turn off the remote and just put it somewhere in my bedroom and forget about it. But let's just say the next day at school, when I forgot to bring it, it ended up becoming more of a big deal, because I remember when I got to school, this girl kept texting me over and over. And then when lunchtime came around, she came up to me and she started basically like talking to me over and over, to to the point where I'm not gonna lie, I ended up looking at her and I'm just like, hey, can you like just tone it down? I'm just trying to do some schoolwork. What? Are you trying to make me be quiet? Why don't you just press the remote? You don't have to say anything. There's the whole reason we have the remote. Oh, right, the remote. I forgot it at home. You forgot the remote at home and I just gave it to you yesterday? Are you serious, Bubba? At that moment, she gets up and leaves out of anger. And honestly, if I knew that remote was just the thing to make her be quiet, I probably would have used it a while ago. Actually, I don't think I actually would because I think it's illegal for a person to have a shot collar on, but I don't know, okay? I didn't know any better. It was high school, okay? Let me be. Going on with the story, I remember this girl ended up texting me how upset she was and everything and how she wanted me to come over and basically try to talk things through. So that's when I ended up getting inside my car. I drove over to her place after school that day, and when I saw her there, I remember we ended up going to her bedroom and she started basically yelling at me and arguing with me, and she just kept basically going on about how she just wants to be controlled. At that moment, I only did the one thing I knew of how to control a woman, and I was doing it through the devil's tango. And that's exactly what we did. I remember afterwards, she was really happy and a lot more quiet, which made me, you know, happier. But I will say this, what ends up happening next was even more annoying, because I remember at school the next day, she just kept going on and she was basically attached to me like a dog, which is funny because she wore a collar with my name on it, but still, that's not the point. She was always following me around, and it got to the point where me and my friends got sick of her, and that's when I remember that same day, I ended up basically driving her home, and right before she got out of my car to enter her house, I ended up giving her the remote. She ended up looking at me and she's like, what? Why are you giving me this, Bubba? What's wrong? Listen, like, I understand, like, you like me and stuff and you want me to be your owner, but I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm looking for like a normal relationship. What? A normal relationship? Bubba, what's not normal about this? I ended up looking at her in total like, what? Like, are you really like asking that question? Because she really was, I guess, confused in life. I'm not gonna lie. And that's when I basically ended up saying like how we're breaking up, and I ended up giving her the speech of the it's not you, it's me thing afterwards, because I didn't know how else to deal with this situation. And she ended up leaving my car crying and went inside. At that moment, I remember I told all my friends that me and her broke up, and they were all like saying like, oh, like, I'm so sorry for you, bro. Like, you know, I'm sorry, man, but like, she was weird. And that's when I said, don't worry about it. Let's just never talk about it again. And yeah, we never did end up talking about it again until I guess recently, because they reminded me of this story. And yeah, shout out to them for telling me about this. Other than that though, would you guys ever wear a shot collar? Because seriously, I think it hurts, wouldn't it? Because if you think it does, then follow more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.